The premise behind Tokyo Revengers may not be new, revolving around the world of gangs and time leaps, but it's the first one that manages to bring both elements together so well to deliver an engaging and gripping story. The story of Tokyo Revengers begins in early July 2017, when a man named Hanagaki Takemichi lives a gloomy, depressive, and regretful adult life. Currently, he lives in a cheap apartment, works in a low-paying DVD rental, and does not have a partner. The morning before going to work, Takemichi watched a crime news program on TV which conveyed the news that there had been a major battle between the Tokyo Manji gangs involving several civilians who had nothing to do with the gangs. In this incident, 6 people were seriously injured, while 2 others were declared dead, Hinata Tachibana and Hinata Tachibana. Hearing the name Hinata Tachibana, Takemichi suddenly remembers the past, as Hinata Tachibana was his ex-girlfriend in middle school and the two of them had broken up a long time ago. Meanwhile, after Takemichi came home from work, he went to the train station while thinking about what had happened to Hinata Tachibana, and why her life could be gloomy like this. Unexpectedly, someone pushed him from behind until he fell and was hit by a passing train. The moment he thought he was going to die, he didn't remember his parents or friends at all, but someone who was so important to him in the past, Hinata Tachibana. This is where the magic happened, where Takemichi miraculously returned to the past, or to be exact, 12 years ago on July 4, 2005. At that time, Takemichi was a second-grade junior high school student and was very surprised when he saw himself in the mirror. He has a spiky and yellow haircut, a very tacky hairstyle for him who has come from the future. At that time, Takemichi thought that maybe this was the moment when you see your life flash before your eyes, so he decided to live life as usual. What's more, he meets 4 of his close friends, where the 5 of them live their junior high life as delinquents. On that day, Takemichi and his friends got into a conflict with 3rd graders who were members of the small Tokyo Manji group led by Kiyomasa. Takemichi begins to remember all the events in his past, where his meeting with Kiyomasa is the starting point of his gloomy life in the future. Later, they will be beaten by Kiyomasa and enslaved every day, making them loser thugs. Because nothing was beautiful during his time in middle school, Takemichi will leave his hometown after graduation, ditch his friends, forget about his girlfriend, avoid a toxic environment, and try to live a normal life. This decision led to a sad future, and in the end, he was hit by a train without anything special in his life. At night, after he and his group had been badly beaten by Kiyomasa's group, Takemichi remembered Hinata's figure and tried to meet her at his house. When Takemichi heard a voice and saw Hinata's figure for the first time in about 10 years, Takemichi unwittingly cried. At that point, he realized that he really loved Hinata, but at the same time, he also felt afraid to imagine the future that would happen to Hinata. After returning from Hinata's house, Takemichi goes to a park where he saves a boy from a delinquent, and the boy is actually Naoto Tachibana, Hinata's younger brother. Takemichi at that time told everything that happened in 2017 to Naoto with the thought that this was all just a dream. Takemichi said that he, Naoto, and Hinata would die that year. Takemichi asked Naoto to protect his older sister if that time came, which Naoto innocently believed. After that, the two shook hands, and a miracle happened again where Takemichi was returned to the future, or to be precise on July 4, 2017. His meeting with Naoto in 2005 turned out to have sparked a change in the future. Takemichi not only succeeded in changing the destiny of his death but also succeeded in changing the future where Naoto still lives. Naoto himself has now become a detective and manages to live because of the warning from Takemichi in the past. Unfortunately, Hinata's death still cannot be avoided. Even so, Takemichi believes that he still has the power to change the future, and he teams up with Naoto to change Hinata's destiny. As a detective, Naoto has various information he needs, including information about the Tokyo Manji Alley, or Toman as it is commonly called, which has now become a criminal organization, as well as the cause of Hinata's death. In order to save Hinata, Naoto concludes that Takemichi must be able to change Toman from within to save Hinata, by preventing the meeting between someone named Mikey with another guy named Teda Kisaki, both of whom are now Toman's leaders. In addition, it was also concluded that the time leap carried out by Takemichi was triggered by a handshake with Naoto. It could only return to 12 years ago on the same date. Also, the past and future timelines were both happening. After that, Takemichi and Naoto shook hands, so he then returned to the past. On July 7, 2005, Kiyomasa held a battle in which his underlings were forced to participate. Surprisingly, Takemichi, who was only a loser before, now has the courage to stop the fight. Takemichi challenges Kiyomasa to fight him, and if he wins, Takemichi wanted to meet Mikey, the true leader of Toman. As expected, Takemichi was badly beaten by Kiyomasa without being able to put up a fight back. However, his strong determination to change the future managed to keep him standing even though the pain coursed through his body. When things got worse for Takemichi, who kept on surviving, Mikey and his deputy, Draken, appeared unexpectedly to stop the fight. At that time, Mikey beat Kiyomasa for holding the fight without his knowledge and surprisingly asked Takemichi to be his friend, just because Mikey was interested in Takemichi's unyielding nature even though he was weak. On July 8, 2005, Takemichi tried to befriend Mikey and Draken. There was so much on Takemichi's mind at that moment. In 2017, Toman is an evil mafia organization, but in reality, Mikey is a good person. So from here, Takemichi concluded that Kisaki Teta, another Toman leader, was someone who had turned Toman in a bad direction so that it became an evil criminal organization. For now, Mikey still doesn't know Kisaki, but sooner or later fate will bring them both together, and it is this fate that Takemichi must change. On July 9, 2005, Takemichi was enjoying a fireworks festival with Hinata, when they fell into a romantic situation. Takemichi tries to hold Hinata's hand, but he accidentally holds Naoto's hand instead so that the time leap trigger activates and Takemichi returns to the future. 12 years into the future, Naoto examines some data related to Toman and finds data that Akkun, Takemichi's closest friend, has become Toman's manager, which means the future has changed. Akkun's destiny should have been to go to prison for killing Kiyomasa, but because Takemichi had managed to stop Kiyomasa's fight, the future had changed. Takemichi and Naoto try to meet Akkun at this time. After they met, Akkun invited Takemichi to talk alone on the roof of a building. First, Akkun admitted that he was the one who had pushed Takemichi onto the railroad tracks, but he didn't expect Naoto to come and save him. The second is that Mikey has changed since Draken's death on August 3, 2005, and the third is that Toman is actually completely led by Kisaki. After providing all this information, Akkun committed suicide by jumping from the roof of the building. This bleak future still needs a lot of improvement. Now Takemichi's mission has grown bigger, and he wants to save all of his friends including Hinata, Mikey, Draken, and Akkun. From this, Takemichi and Naoto concluded that if Draken's death could be prevented, then Mikey would not lose his identity, so Hinata and Akkun might be saved. Takemichi then returns to the past, precisely on July 19, 2005, or 2 weeks before Draken's death. That same day he was invited to attend a Toman meeting to discuss the fight against another gang named Mobius on August 3, on the grounds that Mobius had assaulted a friend of the 3rd Division captain and raped his friend's girlfriend. Takemichi asks Mikey to stop this plan, thinking that Draken's death might be caused by Toman's fight against Mobius. Unfortunately, they didn't listen to Takemichi's words and were increasingly determined to take revenge on Mobius. After some time when they arrived at Mobius base, there was a one-on-one fight between the Mobius leader and the 3rd Division captain. Long story short, the 3rd Division captain loses, so the fight continues between Mikey and the Mobius leader. Unexpectedly, the Mobius leader was brought down with just one attack from Mikey. Then suddenly the police came to ambush the place, so they all ran to save themselves. Amidst the panic, the 3rd Division captain saw an opportunity to attack Mobius leader, and he recklessly stabbed the leader with a knife. The 3rd Division captain realized that what he was doing was against the law, so he turned himself to the police, and acted as a diversion so his friends could escape safely. Some time had passed since the incident until it finally entered August 3. A new Mobius leader named Hanma plans to attack Toman as revenge against Toman. A big battle is about to take place, and this battle will also determine whether Draken dies or not. The previous Mobius leader's stabbing incident was just a trigger to start this war. Unfortunately, in the midst of the commotion, Takemichi found Draken lying injured and his body was covered in blood. It turns out that the perpetrator of Draken's stabbing was a Toman member who used to enslave Takemichi and his friend, Kiyomasa. It turned out that Kiyomasa held a personal grudge against Draken for stopping the fighting tournament he had previously held, which was also an insult to him. In the first fate, Kiyomasa should have died from being stabbed with a knife by Akkun, but because Kiyomasa is still alive, everything changed with Kiyomasa tries to kill Draken. Takemichi immediately ordered the person who was with him to call an ambulance, while he, who had a small body but had strong determination, tried to carry Draken's large body to save him. Unfortunately, while they were waiting for the ambulance to arrive, they were intercepted by Mobius and Kiyomasa's group. Takemichi knows that he doesn't have the fighting ability like the others, but even so he won't let Draken die, to the point that he decides to fight Kiyomasa. As expected, Takemichi was badly battered in that battle. But with his strong determination, in the end, Takemichi managed to win by choking Kiyomasa until he was unconscious. With Takemichi's victory, in the end, Draken's fate was changed as he survived his death. On August 10, 2005, Takemichi assumed that saving Draken was enough to prevent Kisaki from coming. So with great confidence, he returns to the future, to be precise on August 10, 2017. There were two big things that changed at this time. First, Akkun had managed to become a hairdresser as he had dreamed of, and second, Hinata was still alive. However, Toman is still an evil mafia group because currently, Kisaki is the one who leads Toman. This time, the despair deepened because Takemichi witnessed Hinata's death right before his own eyes. And even worse, the person who killed Hinata was Akkun, who deliberately crashed his car into their car. Akkun himself before his death admitted that he did this all on Kisaki's orders. Actually, Kisaki and Akkun's target was not Hinata but Takemichi, who they thought was in the car with Hinata. The future has indeed changed, but the end result is still bad as Hinata and Akkun are still dead. After Hinata's funeral, Takemichi meets Draken, who is now in prison. There they got information that Kisaki was the one who caused all the conflicts that occurred in Toman, starting from the fight against Mobius, and the duel against Hanma, to the stabbing incident by Kiyomasa. So all the efforts made by Takemichi were not in vain. It's just that Kisaki was able to adapt and create new plans, thus making him one step ahead of Takemichi, regardless of Takemichi's ability to do time leap. Once again Takemichi returns to the past, with the clearer goal of preventing Kisaki from destroying Toman. Arriving in the past, Takemichi is attending a meeting of all Toman members. Unexpectedly, on the same night, Kisaki was appointed as the 3rd Division captain. A few days before, Kisaki met Mikey privately, where Kisaki asked Mikey to make him 3rd Division captain, and in return, the previous 3rd Division captain who had been imprisoned would be released from his sentence. In addition to appointing Kisaki as the new 3rd Division captain, Mikey also announced that they will fight against the Valhalla Gang, a new gang whose members consist of former Mobius members. Still, on the same night, a 1st Division captain named Baji decided to leave Toman and openly declared that he would join Valhalla, declaring himself as Toman's enemy from that moment on. After the meeting was over, Takemichi spoke alone with Mikey and tried to warn Mikey that Kisaki was a dangerous person. Mikey agrees with Takemichi's words, but with the condition that Takemichi must bring back Baji, who has just left Toman, because Baji is someone precious to him and is one of Toman's founders. Before Takemichi leaves, he finds an amulet containing a photo of Toman's founders. Strangely, there are 6 people in the photo, while what he knows in Toman is only 5 people. The next day, a member of Valhalla named Kazutora went to meet Takemichi in class and asked him to go to Valhalla headquarters. Arriving there, Takemichi saw Baji beating the 1st Division vice captain named Chifuyu. Kazutora explains that this is all a test for Baji to be trusted and accepted into Valhalla, while Takemichi will be the witness. Very curious, Takemichi asked why Baji betrayed Toman, who then explained that he only intended to help Kazutora kill Mikey. Baji then tells Toman's past, which was founded by 6 people including Baji and Kazutora. At that time Kazutora intended to give a motorbike to Mikey as his birthday present. But because they had no money, they decided to steal. Little did they know, the shop they stole was actually the shop owned by Mikey's older brother, who Kazutora impulsively beat to death. Guilt-ridden, Kazutora enters a catatonic state and reasons that the incident was Mikey's fault, and therefore he must kill Mikey. In the end, Kazutora was imprisoned, while Baji was released. And when Baji found out that Kazutora was now free and joined Valhalla, it was at that moment that Baji decided to leave Toman and wanted to help Kazutora kill Mikey. The next day, Takemichi meets Chifuyu, the 1st Division vice captain, who finds out about Baji's real plan. Chifuyu tells Takemichi that the real reason Baji joined Valhalla was to investigate Kisaki, and from here Takemichi will be assisted by Chifuyu to prevent Kisaki's plan because they have the same goal. After getting enough information, Takemichi returns to the future to meet Draken in prison. Draken recounts the tragedy that occurred on October 31, 2005, where Kazutora killed Baji, making Mikey very angry. With his fury, Mikey killed Kazutora very brutally, and after that Mikey began to lose his identity, so Toman turned into an evil organization. Since then, Toman will be controlled by Valhalla, Then a new generation of Tomon is formed consisting of members from Valhalla led by Mikey and Kisaki, and it is this group that transforms into an evil mafia organization in 2017. So from here, it can be concluded that the key to changing destiny this time is to save Baji so Mikey won't kill Kazutora and lose his identity. After that, Takemichi returns to the future with new goals and missions. On October 31, 2005, the war between Tomon and Valhalla finally started. The sequence of events that occurred was quite different from what Takemichi had thought. Mikey was knocked down by Kazutora, and Kisaki saved Mikey like a hero. Then Baji appeared and beat Kisaki, but suddenly Kazutora came and stabbed Baji from behind. Takemichi couldn't avoid Baji's death even though he was as close to Baji as possible to protect him. Takemichi was confused about what to do because the sequence of events did not match his expectations, but the end result was still the same, namely, Baji died at the hands of Kazutora. Mikey, who had fallen down at first, then got up in anger after knowing the fact that Kazutora had stabbed Baji. He also beat Kazutora with the intention to kill him until it made everyone who witnessed silently watched in fear because they had never seen Mikey act like this. Baji, who was dying, immediately stood up to stop Mikey. Realizing that his life could not be saved, Baji used the knife still stuck in his body to kill himself, to convince Mikey that his death was not Kazutora's fault but his own. As Baji dies, Mikey continues his intention to kill Kazutora, making Takemichi think that if this continues, the bleak future will repeat itself. Takemichi acts to protect Kazutora, trying to remind Mikey that Baji did all this so Mikey could forgive Kazutora for the death of his older brother so that Mikey and Kazutora could make up as before, but Mikey ignored him and beat Takemichi to the ground. It was then that an amulet containing a photo of Tomon's founders fell from Takemichi's pocket. The sight of the charm causes Mikey to recall the formation of the Tokyo Manji Alley and calms him down. Not only Mikey, Kazutora also became more open-minded and realized his past mistakes, so he decided to stay in place to take responsibility for Baji's death. While all of the Tomon members managed to escape due to the presence of the police, Kazutora allows himself to be arrested. On November 15, 2005, Takemichi attended an invitation to a Tomon meeting wearing Tomon's official uniform, and there were two important points in this meeting. First, Hanma arrives at the scene and declares that Valhalla will join Tomon, with Mikey, Kisaki, and Hanma shaking hands symbolically as the new Tomon forms. Takemichi was of course very surprised to see all this, even though he felt he had managed to keep Mikey from losing his identity. If this continues, then Tomon in the future will still be an evil organization. While the second announcement was, Chifuyu as 1st Division Vice Captain firmly appointed Takemichi to become the new 1st Division Captain, which position Takemichi accepted with the thought that he, as Tomon's top official, might be able to change Tomon in a better direction. In this way, Takemichi returns to the future 3 days later, or to be precise, on November 18, 2017. When Takemichi returns to the present, his life has changed for the better where he is filled with luxury, and he is no longer useless. Takemichi has become an executive and one of the most important people within Tomon, as a result of him having been the 1st Division Captain in the past. Still, on the same day, Takemichi was attending an organizational meeting to discuss some of the organization's businesses which were suddenly searched by the police, and strangely enough, their illegal business was raided at the same time, which meant that there was a traitor who had reported everything to the police. After that, Kisaki, who became Tomon's leader, invited Takemichi and Chifuyu to talk alone in a room while drinking. However, it turned out that the drink had been mixed with an anesthetic, so Takemichi and Chifuyu became unconscious. When the two regained consciousness, they had been tied up, as Kisaki suspected Takemichi and Chifuyu of being traitors. Without a doubt, right then and there Chifuyu was killed right in front of Takemichi's eyes, making Takemichi fall even further into the abyss of despair, because no matter how hard he tries, the resulting future always ends badly. After killing Chifuyu, this time it was Kisaki's turn to point the gun right at Takemichi's head. When Kisaki pointed his gun at Takemichi, he shed tears and called Takemichi a hero, and that's where the anime Tokyo Revengers Season 1 ends.